Hi everybody, it's Mrs. Carlton here, and we're going to continue our lessons on Pythagorean theorem. One thing I had a couple people ask me questions on is they weren't sure which formula to use and when to use each formula. So I'm going to clarify that real quick before we start our new stuff. If you have a right triangle and the hypotenuse is missing, so remember, the hypotenuse is across from the right angle. If that's missing, then you just fill in, this would be A and this would be B. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So let's say this is 3, this is 4. 3 squared plus 4 squared. We don't know C. This would be 9 plus 16, still C squared. This would be 25 equals C squared. So remember, in order to get C by itself, you have to take square root of 25, because the inverse of squaring is square root. So we find out that C is 5. Oops. Okay? Now, if you have a leg missing, okay, so that was for missing hypotenuse. And remember, you can pause the video anytime you need to, okay? That's for missing hypotenuse. This is for missing leg. Okay, so the missing leg is when your A or B is missing. So that's when you have one of your two pieces that are hooked to the right angle. One of those would be missing. So let's say this is missing. Okay, our A. Or it could be B, either one. Okay, so this time let's use 4 for B and 5 for C. So the formula is still the same. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We're going to fill in what we know. We know A is missing, so we just leave it as A squared. B is 4. C is 5. Don't forget to square everything. It only works if you square it. So this stays A squared. Now, this is the one that has the extra step. So put a little asterisk, extra step. You have to do subtraction to get the variable by itself, okay? So this is the one that has the extra step, the missing leg. So you minus 16 from both sides, and you get A squared equals 9. So now to get A by itself, we take square root of 9. So, oops, that's an A. Sorry, guys. A equals 3. Okay, so the one with the missing leg has the extra step. So you have to remember that's the only time you have to do the subtraction. And you'll have to be careful and look, because now that we've done both of these, on your homework problems and on the quizzes, it's going to be mixed up. Sometimes you'll have the hypotenuse missing and sometimes you'll have the leg missing. So take a look at the picture. So remember, the missing hypotenuse is C missing. Missing leg would be A or B. And that's when you have the one of the two pieces next to the right angle missing. Okay? All right, so today we're going to continue with Pythagorean theorem, but we're going to work with application problems, which means story problems, okay? Now, I have these stories that we're going to do together typed up for you. So if you want to print this out, it's already on the Google Classroom. It's listed under the announcement. It says like blank copy for the notes. If you want to pause the movie and print that out, or just write them out ahead of time, or just make sure you refer back to them. All right, so problem number 1. Yuki just bought a big screen TV. The screen of the TV is 32 inches wide and 24 inches tall. What is the measure of the diagonal of the screen? Don't forget to draw a diagram. So that's what's going to be important with all of these application problems, is that you draw a picture. If you draw a picture, you're going to find that doing the work is the exact same thing you've already done. It's just a matter of putting the measurements in the correct spot. Okay? And when you buy a TV at the store, this is how they measure a TV, by diagonal, because diagonal, as we know, is the hypotenuse. So like if I draw the picture of the TV, all right, here's your right angle, and the diagonal would be C. That's the hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. And we know that the hypotenuse, the C, is the longest. So when you sell a TV, it's kind of a marketing scam that they use the longest number possible. So if you were to buy a 50-inch TV, that doesn't mean it's 50 inches tall or 50 inches wide. That means that the diagonal from corner to corner of the screen is 50 inches. And they do that because it's the longest number. And people always want to see if they can get the most for their money. So it's a little bit of a marketing scheme. All right, so on the TV that Yuki bought, 32 inches wide. So we're going to put 32 down here and 24 inches tall. So we can see that Pythagorean theorem is what we're going to use because it's a right triangle and C is our missing piece. So that means we're going to do just like this one. We don't have the extra subtraction, okay? So start off with our formula. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay, so for A, remember these two legs are A and B because they touch at the right angle. It doesn't matter which one you use for A and which one you use for B. So let's just use 32 for A, so 32 squared, plus we'll use 24 for B, 24 squared, and it equals C squared. That's our unknown. We're not sure what that one is. You obviously are going to need a calculator here to simplify this. So grab your phone or your calculator. Pause the movie if you need to. And when we do 32 squared, we get 1,024. When we do 24 squared, we get 576. And we still have C squared over here. So now we're going to simplify by adding these two together. I end up with 1,600. Hopefully you guys got the same thing. And it's still C squared. So we're not totally done yet. We need to get C by itself, which means we have to do the inverse of squaring. So we have to do square root of 1,600 to get C by itself. And when you punch that into your calculator, you find out that that is 40. Okay, now let's plug that into our picture and see if it makes sense. Yep, it is going to be the longest, and it kind of goes along with the other numbers. So our answer is 40 inches. Okay? All right, let's move on to the next story. The mast of a sailing ship is 40 feet tall. A rope is stretched 52 feet from the top of the mast to a cleat on the deck of the ship. How far away is the cleat from the base of the mast? Don't forget to draw a diagram. This one's really important because actually there's a lot of like boating vocabulary in this question. So if we draw a picture, that makes it seem much easier. All right, so let's draw ourselves a little sailboat here. It's not a perfect sailboat, but that's okay. And it says first, the mast of a sailing ship is 40 feet tall. Okay, so if you guys, anybody know about sailing or boats, the mast is this big tall pole, okay? So that's 40 feet tall. All right, so now if that's 40 feet tall and a rope is stretched from the top of the mast to a cleat on the deck of the ship. A cleat is like one of those little metal, they kind of look like X's and they're made out of metal, and that's what you would connect things to, like you kind of wrap the rope around it. So if he's got a rope from up here down to this cleat, here's our rope, right? That's our rope, okay? So we can see that that is 52 feet. So what's missing here? A hypotenuse or a leg? What do you guys think? This is our missing piece right here, right? And this is the right angle. So we can tell this is our A or B. Remember, it doesn't matter. This is B and this is C because A and B connect at the right angle and C is across from the right angle. So let's fill in what we know. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That's our formula we always start with. A stays blank because we're unsure of that. B is 40. C is 52. All right, using your calculator, go ahead and simplify those values. A squared stays the same. 40 squared is 1,600. And 52 squared is 2,704. Okay, so now this one, because there's a leg missing, we are going to have to do the extra step. Because remember, when we're missing the leg, we have the extra step here of subtraction. Okay? So, let's try to get A by itself, which means we need to get rid of that 1,600. So subtract 1,600 from both sides. These cancel out. A squared is what we're left with, so that's alone, which is what we wanted. 2,704 minus 1,600 is 1,104. Now in order to get A by itself, we have to take square root of 1,104. And that turns out to be, oops, I don't know why I put B, sorry, 33.2. Okay, so if I put that in my picture, 33.2, it does fit because hypotenuse is still the longest, but these numbers are similar enough that it would form a triangle. So our answer is 33.2 feet. Okay? All right, any questions? All right, let's do one more example. Let's kind of touch this one as like an Oyo, the on your own, okay? So I'm going to have you try this one by yourself, but I'm going to help you set up the picture because sometimes that's the hardest part is interpreting the question and trying to find out what they're asking. It says, a ladder is leaned against a wall. The base of the ladder is 7 feet from the wall, and it reaches 24 feet high on the wall. How tall is the ladder? Okay, so it's always best to read it through once and then go back and read it through for important information. So first of all, we know we have a wall here. So I'm going to draw a brick wall. Let's see, let's make it look brick like this. Okay, there's a brick wall. Okay, and we have a ladder leaned up against it. There's our ladder. So this is our picture. It says the base of the ladder, that's the bottom, is 7 feet from the wall. So that means down on the ground here, like whether we have grass or dirt or gravel, it doesn't really matter. That is 7 feet. Okay? And then it says it reaches 24 feet high on the wall. All right, so that means where the ladder touches at the top is 24. So now you can kind of start to see our triangle. This is the right angle because the floor and the wall are perpendicular, okay? And then we have our ladder that's leaning. So this is A and this is B, or you can interchange those two. So what we're missing here is C, the hypotenuse. So using our Pythagorean theorem again, we'll be able to discover the height of that ladder. Okay, so go ahead and pause the movie. Try to do this one all on your own. You're doing C, so remember that means missing hypotenuse is like this. You don't have that extra step. So work on that one by yourself. Okay, everybody? So let's see what we got here. A is 7 squared plus 24 squared equals C squared. And remember, if you had, oops, I forgot the squared. If you had these two mixed up, that's okay because you're going to add them together anyways. That's why A and B are interchangeable. So this is 49 plus, this is 576, and this is still c squared. So now we're going to add these two together, and we get 625, still equal to c squared. So we're going to take square root of 625 to get c by itself, because you have to undo that squaring. So you find out that 25 is equal to c. So let's plug that over to our picture, 25, and see if it works. Now, the hypotenuse is the longest, and it still fits in with the other numbers, so it's perfect. So our answer is 25 feet. Okay? So what you're going to be doing on the homework is very similar to this. There's going to be a combination of some regular number problems like we did last week and some story situations. So with the story situations, the best way to figure it out is to draw a picture and label the parts. Okay? All right, so if you were planning out your week, let's take a look at what you should do. So today is the 11th of May, or maybe the 12th, depending on when you watched the video. Remember, you can watch these videos and do the work anytime you want, as long as you have everything done by Friday. So we already watched the video, okay? So we did the video and the notes. Okay, so hopefully that's done. Second thing I want you to do is a worksheet. Now I have a few choices for you listed. I think there's 4 different ones. You want to choose one of them, complete the worksheet, and check it. Okay, so once you're done, check it. The key is included. You'll notice 3rd and 4th hour, they're going to do the last one. All right, number 3, there is a quizzes game again. It's just for practice this week. So go ahead and play that quizzes game. The link is attached in the classwork section. And the last one is the self-assessment. Okay, the self-assessment goes with every lesson. And that's also in the classwork section. That's what you get your points for. Okay, so Tuesday is going to be the same exact thing. So this whole thing is the same on Tuesday. All right. Now, don't forget that we are going to have a quiz at the end of the week. Quiz on Pythagorean theorem. Okay, we're going to do a quiz at the end of the week. So I'll probably post it on Wednesday so you can do it whenever you want, but it's going to be due by Friday night, and it will be on all Pythagorean theorems. So missing hypotenuse, missing leg, story problems, and we have one more new thing to learn, lesson 5, which I'll be posting on Wednesday. Okay, have a great week. Remember, you can email me anytime with questions. See you soon.